The story of this game is Arsenal are more up for this title than Man City. Arsenal are hungrier to win the Premier League than Man City.
He put British boxing on the map, right? That guy was selling out Wembley Stadium. Also, remember, he's an Olympic champion. He's done it all, man.
Is the media getting it wrong and focusing on the wrong things? Or if the government allowed a vacuum of policies for the country, have they allowed the media to focus on things that, for me, are a lot more frivolous and less important? Welcome to this week's episode of Whisper It Loudly podcast. I'm Jordan Jarrett-Bryan. I'm joined with Hugh this week. Darren and Troy are taking a week off. Don't know where they are. Someone's smashing balls in the next studio. They're away this week, but we've more than made up for their absence this week. We've got a fantastic guest on the pod this week. We are joined by the founder of AFTV, Robbie Lyle. What are you saying, Rob?
Nice, it's great to be here.
Good?
Man. Yeah, good.
It's an early start, so thank you very much.
It was an early start.
Early start for coming in.
It was a very early start, you know, but I fought my way through the traffic and got here, so apologies for being slightly late.
No.
First things first, Robbie. I just need a few tips. I was
going to get there.
Spelt these days.
I was going to get there.
My man is looking trim. Just talk us through the process.
You in the tips gym? Off me?
Yeah, man.
No, man, I can't give out tips. Listen, it's just somebody said it. You eat less and move more. You know, so that's all I've been doing, man, and just sort of changed up my regime a bit. You know, really trying to cut out the fast foods. Mm-hmm. And just try to eat sensible and training, doing the gym. I was away in America last week and I even went to the gym. I was surprised myself.
I saw.
Normally,
you're not a gym guy.
Yeah, how many times I've been away and I bought like gym equipment?
It's just left there in the corner.
And then you wake up in the morning, you're like, bun that. You know what I mean? But I actually did it. I went to the gym a couple of times, sauna. So yeah, just a lifestyle change really.
It's working, man. We like it.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel better. I feel more energized.
Fantastic.
You know? So
you're looking good.
Thank you.
Quick one as well. The Whisper It Loudly Will Produce It Down podcast didn't actually go down very well on the weekend. A 0-0 draw between Palace and United. I don't know if it was a better point for United or Palace, but we will move on from that one because it wasn't the best of games. We will talk a little bit about you, Rob, a bit later in the pod because I'm really interested in you, the businessman, as opposed to you, the Arsenal fan. Those that want to hear your thoughts on Arsenal, there's a better platform to go to that and hear your thoughts on that. Let's be real, AFTV. So we'll get to that in a little bit. We'll touch on the boxing a bit later as well, and the current Labour conference, their first conference in power, a bit later too. But I thought we should start on the biggest game of the weekend, Arsenal getting a point at Manchester City. And again, we won't spend too much time on this because we've done Arsenal quite a bit in the last few weeks, but it'd be silly not to do it whilst you're here. And I guess, and I'll start with you, Robbie, my first question is, with the performance that Arsenal laid out, the result that they gained, and now the Rodri news, if you didn't have Arsenal favourites for the title, do you now?
Well, I think we're like joint favourites. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say we're still clear favourites because, it's Manchester City, it's Pep Guardiola, he's not injured. Right? He's still going to be there, right? And he'll find a solution to that Rodri missing. But that is a big miss. Because Rodri is a big player. But, they've got we've always been told about their great squad, so now we're going to have to see it in operation to cover that position. And they did, remember when they won the league, they didn't even have a striker that time, right? So he's got a way of finding solutions to it, but I do feel that Arsenal are very close, and you saw it again at the weekend. And to me, had that game not gone down to, 10 men, we would have won that game. I was at the game, I was feeling very confident because honestly, to me, I don't know if it's just me, right? But when we got that second goal, they looked rattled, right? It's almost because they scored the first goal, and I thought, even the announcer at the game, right? They started going into this big announcement about how Haaland has scored 100 goals. Now, I was thinking to myself, yeah, I get it. You say, congratulations, Erling Haaland has scored 100 goals now. But the way he was speaking about it for about a couple of minutes, Haaland, 100 goals. I was thinking, what, is this a testimonial like we're here, or pre-season we're here just to make up the numbers? Yeah. And I thought to myself, even that was a bit disrespectful, right? So I was thinking, these guys, they're looking at us like we're some joke thing. Mm-hmm. And then when we got that goal back, Calafiori, you could see they looked a little stunned. Then when we got the second goal, they were rattled, completely rattled. And had it not been, going down to 10 men, which I'm still upset about that because, yeah, you can argue and say he has sort of kicked the ball away, but Doku done the similar thing, and he didn't get, nothing happened to him. And I just felt that the referee was very inconsistent in the game. And also, further to even that, I just feel that every minute in the Premier League, they keep changing up, trying to come with these harsh rules that are unnecessary. And I felt it spoiled the game. I think we would have saw a much better game in that second half if it had been 11 versus 11. I would have been interested to see what City would have done, because to me, we were in the ascendancy. We're full of confidence when we got that second goal, and they were very stunned because remember, City, once they go 1-0 up at home, it's over and it's a wrap. And we come back. I'll tell you, I would have loved to have seen 11 against 11.
Same, yeah. I mean, on that, Hugh, I mean, I'm not as incandescent with the decision as I think most Arsenal fans are. I put a bit more responsibility on Trossard, right? But on the rule itself, I don't understand why they're doubling down on this rule, because the whole point of the rule is to reduce time wasting. But we've seen in recent seasons, they've doubled down on adding on time. So if Trossard wants to kick the ball away, just add the time on. I don't understand why they're going hard on this rule. Just add the time on. Like, why have you got to make it a yellow card offence for time wasting when you're adding time on anyway? And as it ended up, with Arsenal time wasting in the second half going down, we kind of killed ourselves anyway. Yeah. So you get punished for it regardless. So
every single start of season, loads of broadcasters, loads of journalists join a briefing with the PGMOL where they tell us this season, these are the things that we're going to be looking at more harshly. These are the things that we don't feel have worked and we're not going to be looking at. So it does change every single year. Like, I don't mind that. It should be a trial and error type thing. But every single year I listen to that and I'm like, you're making it harder for the officials. You're actually adding more things for them to worry about. Looking at the officiating over the last 4 or 5 years, please give them fewer things to worry about. Give them fewer things to look at, fewer things to. That's what we want.
What happened?
They're too involved. They're too involved with the football.
What happens to you? They start off with that and then it disappears.
Yeah, you're right.
So last year, it was right. Now we're going to add on every single minute of every single. Now they've changed that. Right after a year. Last year, what was the other one they had last year? The handball.
Yeah.
Right.
Changed it.
Now they've changed that. Oh, when they realised that was an absolute mess. Like a guy would be yards away, right? The ball hit him, and they're giving a penalty. Now they've changed that back to what it was before, right? Watch them fade out this one as well, because it's like Arteta said, if they stick to this as they should, you're going to see a lot of people getting yellow cards. Because the one with, say, for instance, with Declan Rice. Come on, he barely touched the ball. Right? Like even they said it was a gentle kick, but he delayed the restart. Like you said, you can add the time. It's ridiculous to say. The other one I saw the other day, which this one will get reversed as well, right? Was in the Chelsea game. Chelsea was playing, I think it's Bournemouth. It was about 14 yellow cards dished out for dissent, and some of it was players just saying to the referee, "Ref, wasn't that a foul?" And then he go and book them because he's like, no, only the captain's supposed to ask.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
What kind of rubbish is this?
Do you not think
this is in the heat of battle?
But do you not think, though, that because disrespect towards referees has gone so far one way, they're doubling down, they've gone maybe too far the other way?
They've gone too far. They've gone too far the other way. You know what? In football, let's have some common sense. Like what we used to do. Common sense refereeing.
I think that's
so if a man jumps up at you and says, ref, what the effing, then you say, yo, you're talking to, there's a yellow card. Yeah. But if someone's just got a foul and he's just questioning it, ref, didn't you, come on. Is that a yellow card? Come on, man. It's common sense football. You know what I mean? The one with Declan Rice the other day, is that worth ruining a game? Is the man barely touched the ball? You call both players, because remember, he got kicked by the Brighton defender. You call both players, say, yo, stop all that, or you're both going off. And I just think it's ridiculous. And then you see these little trivial things be punished with a yellow card, but yet still, I see Haaland at the end of that game take the ball, launch the ball. Remember, he didn't just toss it at Gabriel's head. He launched at his head, he hit his head and bounced off. And VAR looked at that, they thought nothing of it, right? But then if the game was going on and two players come up to each other and they just go like that, they don't headbutt each other, but they just touch their heads like that. Yeah. They say it's violent conduct, you're sent off. How do these things, honestly, it's a joke.
I just want to say though, because we're going down this road that I think, and it's interesting just to watch over the weekend, the way that, and since the game, that media in England works around this football match, because maybe it's social media, maybe it's people causing conversations online, but the conversation after this game, so much around Trossard yellow, Haaland and Silva having a go at Gabriel. Like, I was just like, sorry, guys, the story of this game is Arsenal are more up for this title than Man City. Arsenal are hungrier to win the Premier League than Man City. You're absolutely right. If Arsenal had 11 players, I think we get a better second half. I also think we get an Arsenal win.
I think we'd have won.
So I'm sitting there and I'm like, guys, Arsenal are better than Man City. Maybe not, they're going to win a treble. But right now, after that game, you know, everyone goes, if they played tomorrow. Well, we just saw it. They played today and Arsenal were better. So the story should have been all about, even Arteta in the questions afterwards, and to be fair to him, he pointed out, he goes, you're all asking me about these incidents instead of the football. So, and I thought he was absolutely right. Like, in this country, let's focus on why we watched that game. We watched that game because we love football. I know it was kind of tarnished, but I think we can all see as football fans, Man City have a problem on their hands if they think they're going to win a 5th Premier League in a row. Arsenal are up for this title.
So on that, you've said when we did our predictions pre-season, you think Arsenal will win the league this year. So the game hasn't changed. No. You that just reinforced your view that come May, Arsenal will be Premier League champions.
I do, and the Rodri injury now makes me think they will be champions. Yeah. I always felt in Pep's last year, City would be going all out for a Champions League title. I think that will be their main focus in the back end. There's a lot of games. I read this thing about Rodri yesterday, that if he played every game for club and country this season, and Man City were to win the treble, if you like, or get to every final, it'd be 82 games.
Jeez.
You know, it's absolutely crazy. You know, that's a baseball season, or you know, so you're a bit like, firstly, on his point about striking and players' injuries, he probably had a point. But the second thing is, again, without him, I think I get your point on Guardiola always finds an answer. There is no high quality replacement.
We're strong this season, right? And remember last season? It was only I felt last season. That's why I was a bit, upset in the end, right? Because I felt we were better than them last season, but they just know how to get it done. But we were a better team, I felt, than them. They didn't beat us. Liverpool didn't beat us. The only team in that sort of top 6 that beat us was Villa, home and away. Right, so I felt that and this season you got to think we've started with a very tough. We've had to go away to Villa, away to Tottenham, and away to City. We haven't lost any in games. We've taken 7 points from those games, right? And
not playing that well.
And we've played 2 games with 10 men, right? So if we get and we've had a lot, we've had a lot of injuries. I mean, there's been no Marino yet. We haven't seen him, right? You know, what I mean, there's been
just came in.
Calafiori's just come in. Odegaard's been out for some big games.
Rice missed the Spurs game.
Exactly. So I think that we look very strong at the moment, right? And also with that game, right, on Sunday, I was like, if it was in November, I feel that Arsenal would have even won that game when we were down to 10 men, because a lot of the players that they were saying feigned injury, right? They did actually end up coming off. They were cramping up. You know what I mean? Timber came off. Calafiori came off because, Calafiori's hardly played any games.
Timber missed last
right?
season. Yeah.
So I feel we a fitter Arsenal team would probably have seen that game home. But we had to take players off and stuff. So this team's looking really, really strong at the moment. Obviously, long way to go yet. But the Rodri thing is a big blow for them.
Let's finish on the Rodri one then, because I wonder, who do you think is their most important player out of Rodri and Haaland? If they could lose someone for the season, who do you think would be the person that, if they had to pick? Is he their most important player, or is Haaland still the guy that you want for the season because it's just goals?
I still think Kevin De Bruyne is their most important player. Obviously, we've seen them last season play without him and for a few months and still win the league. But I think actually, if you look at, I think of Arsenal's chances of winning the Premier League, I think of Gabriel and Saliba. That's who I think of, right? Because I think when Arsenal play badly, they're going to get results because that defence and those two in particular are so good. Yeah. So Arsenal might get a 1 goal, not play well, but we know they've got quality. They might get a goal and they're going to be incredibly hard to score against. You'll see Arsenal's bad performances.
They're probably worst case.
Worst case scenario, 0-0, 1-1. Right? Man City, when they play badly, their get out of jail free card at the moment is Haaland. But I think for me, over the course of 38 games, I wouldn't want to miss De Bruyne.
And
I think Rodri's the most, because if you just go off for their record, right, when he plays, they win. When he don't play, right, those are the games where they've lost.
He's just their engine.
Yeah, so I actually think he's their most important player. And I do feel as well that they're running now Pep will be a little bit nervous, right? Because what if anything happened to Haaland as well? They haven't got another striker because they sold Alvarez and they didn't actually replace him. So they're a little...
He also got a little message from me, Pep, on the weekend about the likes of Doku, Savinho, some of the players that have come into the squad more recently, just around like, it's now your time to step up. Even though you've just come to the team or you came last season, the reality is, like... It's a weird one with Man City. They're not Real Madrid. They're not Bayern Munich. They're not Liverpool. Where it's just like, by virtue of pulling that shirt on, that message is immediate. You have to be at that level. If you want to stay and play at Real Madrid, you have to be at that level. Some players have arrived at Man City over the years and thought, just by playing at Man City, Haaland's going to win us the league, Rodri's going to win us the league, De Bruyne's going to win it. I'm going to get a winner's medal just by playing for Man City.
Now you've got to be the guy.
You've got to earn the medal, because look at Arsenal, they're showing you. Everyone in that team is willing to grab that medal. Are you willing to grab that medal? That's the message.
Just final point on Rodri, going back to him as well. Do you think the fact that he spoke out last week saying, look, we're on the verge of striking, I don't know if I buy it personally, but that's what he's saying. And then a week later, he's injured. And it wasn't like it was a tackle. Alisson as well. Yeah. These weren't tackles. These were genuine injuries that you could argue are because of an accumulation of games. Do you think authorities will take note and actually be like, okay, actually, maybe these guys have got a point here now?
No, ain't taking note.
You don't think they will?
When you say take note, do you mean take note of the situation or take notes? Because I think they'll take the notes, right? It's all about the money for them. That's why the Champions League is now extended. That's why last week, after all the years of trying to avoid playing on a Thursday night, Arsenal still had to play on a Thursday night now, even in the Champions League, because it's an extended format. You know what I mean? Because money. Yeah. That's what it's all about. That's why they're doing that World Club Cup competition at the end of the season. That's why last season, at the end of the season, Tottenham and Newcastle flew to Australia to play a pre-season game straight after. I mean, it's money. That's what it's all about. And so I don't think they're taking players' welfare into consideration at all.
I don't see a strike ever happening, but you think it could happen?
No, I don't think strikes will happen, but I think we'll see a new age of how contracts are done, especially for big name players.
Companies speak about limitation on games played.
So I think players will definitely sign I'm only going to start maximum 32 Premier League games. The rest I'll be on the bench. I'm only going to start 6 of the 8 Champions League games maximum. I'm not going to play in the League Cup at all, or I'm not going to play in rounds 3 and 4 in the FA Cup.
That's a risky contract to sign, though, isn't it?
No, because I think
it's not happening for you. You know what I mean?
No, but I think it will be discretional. So it'll be like, this is the maximum that I can play.
Okay,
But if I say to you, to the club, I want to play, then obviously I'm foregoing that clause in my contract.
So you both think Arsenal's been the title this season?
I'm backing Arsenal, yeah.
Still going to Arsenal. Okay. I'm not quite there yet. Maybe it's PTSD.
When Gabriel scored in the WhatsApp group, he was there, guys. I was
going off. All right. Quick mention to Aston Villa, because they're my team to surprise everybody. No one had them in their top 4 start of the season. I had them second. It was a little bit wild, but I just think they're going to do better than people think. Really good start. Is it sustainable?
I personally don't think it is sustainable, but I've been very impressed by their start. They are a solid team. They're going to be a difficult team to beat. They're going to beat some big teams, obviously. The question is really over the 38 games. Can you see Villa getting surprised by a Brighton away, by a Palace away, by a Forest away?
Yes. Yeah.
You can see that happening because it's not like they absolutely dominate all of their teams. Obviously, when they play well, they're, like I said, an incredibly hard team to beat. But if they're not at their game, it's not like, Villa are going to get 70% possession. If they're not at their game, that's the opposition are going to do that to them. So they've added depth to the squad. They look very, very good. John Duran, very impressive now. Like, you've got a genuine go-to for Watkins to come off after 65, 70 minutes, and you've got someone who can put themselves about, who can score goals too. So that's really important for them. But they've got quality. I think they'll be in the conversation. I just think
They've just missed
the
out.
likes of Chelsea, strangely, I think are ahead of them.
Arguably, I think Villa have only lost one game this year. And I think it was to Arsenal.
yeah.
You were there. You saw them up close.
They're a good side.
Am I overestimating how good they'll do? Or do
They're
you
a good side, but
They're
the only
just
thing I think is always look on it and think, number one, Champions League. What toll will that take? We know that's very difficult to play. You play midweek, then you got to play on the weekend. It's not easy, right? Have they got the squad depth? I mean, I know a lot of people looking at it straight away and they go, yeah, they have. Look at Duran can come on. I'm on about more in defence. What if anything happens to any of those defenders? Do they have that depth
They
there?
had quite a lot of injuries last season in defence, to be fair, and they managed to get top 4.
Yeah, but
then.
do they have that quality in depth at the back, right? Because remember, they still had a look. They still conceded quite a few goals. They're even 1-0 down in the last couple of games. They were down to Everton, right? They were 2-0 down against Everton, wasn't it?
Yeah,
they were 1-0 down at the weekend. I mean, you question the defence, right? And so and then the other thing is as well, like you're no longer that unknown quantity now. You're no longer, teams will look at it and say, Villa are coming to us this week. We're not going to attack them. We're actually going to, we're low blocking it because they're one of the big boys now. How are they going to cope with that throughout the season? So I'm not sure if they will get top 4.
There will be injuries. I know other clubs in the Champions League are in the same situation, but remember, if you get to the Carabao Cup third round, if you play in the knockout round of the Champions League, so if you finish in that middle group before the last 16, you're playing every weekend and every midweek between here and the end of February. There will be injuries.
And they're not used to it, but they are a good side. Make no mistake about it, they're good.
Quick final note on football. I should have mentioned it during the Arsenal-Man City chat. Big shout out to Miles Lewis Skelly, who stuck it on Haaland when he came on. And a special mention to him, it was his first Premier League game, and his mum came on the podcast about 2 months ago. So big up to Marcel.
Yeah, she's been on AFTV before, speaking about the work she does in the academies.
Yes, she was amazing.
And big up to him, right? Because when he got the yellow card, right? Because remember he got booked. He got booked on the side
before he came on. Yeah,
I turn around to Cecil was next to me. I go, yeah, he ain't coming on. I go, look, yellow card. That's it. His game is finished. He's got a yellow card before even coming on. And for Arteta to trust to still bring him on in the heat of battle, I know he was near the end of the game, but
before Sterling, which I thought was interesting as well.
Yeah, because if he gets another yellow, that's it. You get one yellow, then you'll be a red. Done, yeah. So, so you must have a lot of faith in him. You know what I mean? And it's I saw him playing pre-season over in America, and he looks really good. He's a really good prospect. We've got some good young players.
I was about to say, shout out the Arsenal Academy because they're still producing talents, local talents on top of it.
Yeah.
Who look like they're going to come through and contribute, if not to Arsenal, then at
we're carrying Fulham right about now, aren't we?
Yeah, I was about to say. This is about to say. Like, and I listen. I'm a Manchester United fan, but I've been proud of our academy over the years because they haven't just produced players for Manchester United. They've produced players that stay at a high level throughout their career, even if it's not at United.
I'll tell you what, with his mum behind him. And I met her. She's a very impressive lady. I mean, he's got a good career ahead of him.
No, big up, Marcel.
She's gonna
make sure that
I don't think he's going to be rolling up in a Benz, like an LV bag and all that, right? When before he's really done it. You know what I mean? Because she had her head screwed on. She knows what she.
No, she was great. We enjoyed having her on the pod. So big up.
Check it out, by the way, if you.
Yes, go back. Yeah, she was great, and the work she's doing. So big up the two of them. All right, let's pivot now to a bit of boxing chat. Robbie's a massive boxing fan. Is it fair to say that football aside, boxing is your favourite sport?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I love boxing.
Big fight on the weekend. Anthony Joshua lost in, I thought, quite devastating fashion to Daniel Dubois. Quite embarrassing as well. And I'm a big AJ fan. I'm not one of these people that is Hugh's nodding here. I'm not one of these people.
No, I'm just, you said embarrassing, and I'm like, AJ, I love you still. I don't know if you see Jordan in public and you want to take him up on that, then
Jordan, maybe take a bit out. Maybe let's start again.
Big
a valiant effort from AJ there on the weekend. Go easy on me, brethren. At Wembley, 96,000 people were there. It wasn't good. He has said that he will continue to fight. I have questions about that, but that's a really good idea. But I'll start with Hugh on this one. My concern about him continuing is that should he lose another fight, the memory of Anthony Joshua being a 2 times heavyweight champion, I think gets tarnished. I think he's one more defeat now away from people thinking of him in the defeats rather than remembering the wins. Am I being a bit unfair?
He is incredibly wealthy already. I should start by saying, like, he doesn't need money, Anthony Joshua.
No.
However, if someone offered you 100 million quid to fight Tyson Fury and it was going to be your last fight, you know full well that you could lose that fight. And like you say, maybe people will think of you in that light. Would you take the money? Would you take the fight?
Well, for 100 million, I probably would.
Yeah.
Probably for 100 million.
So
who cares, really? Yeah.
It's up to him to weigh up whether he's got enough money that his legacy is more important than the money.
I don't think it comes down to money with them top fighters. Not, in his case, I don't think it comes down to money. Like you said, he's incredibly wealthy. He's a really nice guy. I met him a couple of months ago. Really, really humble guy. And I was gutted that he lost that
so
fight.
Was I.
But I do feel that when it comes to somebody like him, they're such a warrior. They just don't want to go out. And this is the problem sometimes in boxing.
Yeah.
Is that these guys, they don't want to go out on a defeat. They don't want to be remembered like that. Or they start to feel that they're going to be remembered for that loss. Whereas he wouldn't be remembered for that loss, I don't think, right? Yeah, we'd be talking about it now, but I think if he did decide to retire, we would remember that he's the guy who put British boxing on the map.
But if he loses the rematch, Rob.
Yeah, but I do feel that he needs to have a think about it, because that was a bad loss, right? And Dubois, probably the next time round, will feel even more confident. I mean, Dubois was on the front foot from the fight started, and he was absolutely brilliant. But it's funny because we were watching that fight, and my brother, obviously, he's a massive boxing fan. Yeah. He was saying, as AJ was walking to the ring, he said, Robbie, you don't look right. Something ain't quite right, man.
I've heard that from a few people, Rob.
Like, he seems all right. He said
I was the opposite. I was like,
he was saying it on the night. I was going, he looks fine. He's going, no, he don't look right. And then I was just shocked at how low his hands were and things like that. He didn't. I was like, you haven't done that in the last few fights. You remember he's fighting that Ngannou, who's like dangerous for his punching. Yeah. He came in and his hands were something. When I think back at it, I'm like, maybe something weren't quite right. But the problem is in boxing, right? With all boxers, as I said, yeah, they make loads and loads of money and when they're at the top. But after a while, I don't think it's the money. I think it's their pride.
The ego.
And, they just don't want to be known for that last loss. They want... And that's what keeps them going and going sometimes to the detriment of themselves.
Yeah. You raised the point about the Dubois rematch. Would you take that fight next if you were Anthony Joshua? Or would you think, I'll wait and see what happens with Usyk Fury? If Fury loses... And I know it's the two losers if you like going head to head, but is there more value for me fighting Tyson Fury than possibly losing to Daniel Dubois again and then my stock falling even further?
What? All three of those are really tough fights, right? You've got Dubois who's just beaten him in devastating fashion. You've got Usyk who's beaten him twice and seems to have the making of him because of his styles. He's just got the style to beat. And then you've got Tyson Fury who's probably got the style. Tyson Fury's an awkward thing. He's not, he's not easy to catch.
Yeah.
So none of those three fights are easy fights. They're all really, really tough fights. I think probably out of the three, as crazy as this is going to sound, probably the Dubois one would be the one to take because he'd be thinking maybe I'll go out there and catch him with a couple of big ones.
He's not favourite in any of those three fights, I would say.
Nah, but
is he favourite in all three of those fighters? He goes into. I don't think he's a favourite in any.
Dubois, by the way, what a performance that was.
Yeah.
I mean, and remember, when I think about it, the fight against Usyk, right, when he caught him with that body shot, and Usyk went down, right, that was a good shot, right. He didn't really get. They said it weren't a low blow. It was a proper thing.
Yeah.
This guy, I don't think any of them two either, Usyk or Tyson Fury, are going to want to fight Dubois.
Yeah. So do you think he's the next one? I would say I'm not a massive boxing expert, so I defer to those who are. But looking at him, do you think in 2 years' time this guy can have all the belts?
He's just beaten. He beat Hrgovic, who's a top prospect. He was the guy that they were all lining up to be the next big thing. Beat him badly, and then he's beaten AJ badly at Wembley in front of an AJ crowd, really. This guy, he's the real deal, man. I want to see him. I'd actually like to see him fight either Usyk or I think he deserves it. He's a champion now as well. And he's got the belt.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they think.
But I don't think none of them two are going to really be in a hurry
to fight Dubois.
To fight him. Look at you saw how solid he looked.
He looked good. He did look good.
Listen. We got to take that because I remember that time when he had that fight where he quit against Joe Joyce, but it's a really bad eye injury.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I don't know about this guy, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
he had actually fractured his eye socket.
He's come back from that and he's been unbelievable. And I think he deserves, forget about rematches and that for now. I'm just talking for him. He deserves one of those two. He deserves the big one now. You know, because I think he could do it.
Just finally on AJ, because I know Dubois deserves the accolades and the attention because he won and fully deserved. I just feel like with AJ, you are a millionaire. You're really good looking and marketable. You're a 2-time heavyweight champion. He could turn his hand now to pretty much anything he wants to do. And I think equally as importantly, his marbles are still intact.
Yeah.
Like, I just think just get out now before any of those things change, before your health. No,
they don't think like that. The boxers don't think like that.
I just think it'd be a shame. And the way he lost as well was he didn't just lose. It was a bad loss, man.
Yeah, but they don't think
that's not a good look.
It's a weird thing with boxing, isn't it? Because there are other sports where you can have a bad loss and it's like, well, he'll be back next week. Or, you know, like Rory McIlroy can miss out on winning however majors by one shot. Or
but I don't think I'd be saying this if he lost on points. But
no one says,
how he
give
lost.
it up, Rory. You know, and I get it, it's a much more dangerous sport. But I think in heavyweight boxing, it's actually, yes, you get the big heavy shots, but you don't get caught by hundreds of punches in a fight. It's different to a lightweight or a middleweight boxer where the boxers are much faster. Yes, you get caught, but it isn't so regular that you know But when you do get hit, I know. But when you do get hit,
like you've been hit by a train.
Yeah. So, but I do think, you know, I get it. Again, 100 million to fight Tyson Fury, and that could be your last fight. Could be at Wembley Stadium. Could be your chance of redemption. Go out on a high by beating Fury, who was a guy calling you a dosser for the last 5-6 years. Like for him, even if he doesn't fight Usyk or, you know, it doesn't get a belt back in his final fight, if it were to be that fight, there would be a lot of British interest. Fans would still watch the fight, and he'd get something back if he won it. He's thinking,
it's the problem though,
if I win. They're not thinking if I lose. They're thinking if I win, it's this.
But Hugh, this is the problem though, right? Because remember how we just look at a fight and we think, yeah, you know, knockout. But look at how bad that. Look how the guy was. He was trying to get up and couldn't get up. And
that's what I'm saying. It was bad.
I mean, that's not a good. When you get too many of those, man. I mean, that's going to have a lasting effect. So, but like you said, they're always tempted back in. That's the problem. You know,
well, listen, it's what they do, man. It's what they do.
I think we all love. We're all fans of AJ, the person. We've all met him. I think he's a really good guy. The talk now is about, from my boxing friends, will say, you see, I told you he's overrated. He's gassed. He's hyped up. I'm like, I never said he was the greatest. So I'm not invested like that. But it does give fuel to the argument that actually maybe he's not as good as everybody is.
No, everybody's got to put respect on his name, right? Because he put British boxing on the map, right? That guy was selling out Wembley Stadium. Also, remember, he's an Olympic champion. He's done it all, man. He's done everything, right? Started late. One day
he didn't start late. He started when others were already having professional fights.
And he won the Olympics, and he's been a world champion twice, and for years, right? We've got to put respect on somebody like his name, right? He is world class, right? So, you know what I mean? You can always compare who's the greatest and stuff like that. I think it's very unfair to try and do it. He's obviously not Muhammad Ali, but he's certainly up there. And when it comes to British boxing, you know, you tell me, you know, heavyweight boxing, he's helped to put it on the map.
He has.
It's the reason why all these guys are getting these big paydays, and it's so marketable that they can take it to Saudi now and stuff like that.
In a succinct answer, quit or go on.
I would quit, but I think you're right in terms of how.
Wait, AJ, your advice, would he quit or go on?
If I'm advising him?
If you're advising him.
I would say quit.
Robbie?
He's too big for me to tell him to quit. Anything you want to do, AJ, you do, right? Because why? But you know what you said earlier? If he did quit, it's not going to be, trust me, he will get so many other opportunities. He'll
can
be
do what
so
he
loved.
wants.
He can do what you want.
Do what he wants,
So
man.
I don't feel, what I would say to him is, don't feel obligated to people that you need to go out there and prove you. You've done everything. You've proven yourself. You don't need to prove yourself.
And I'm talking even beyond sport. I'd love to.
You don't need to prove yourself anymore, right? So if that would be your reason for continuing on, then I say quit. If you feel I actually feel I can, then carry on. But if your thing is that you're feeling that people around are saying that, oh, AJ, no, don't. They won't say that. In a year or so's time, they will remember your legacy as being the guy who put British boxing on the map.
We weren't succinct, but I'm going to ask you to be succinct. What would you advise him to do?
Go on. I just have to say, think about the fights that you take.
Okay.
I think have a couple of fights. Dillian White, maybe. If it is the Dubois rematch, I don't know about that, but
do you want to see that? Do you want to see that fight in a word?
Choose carefully.
Do you want to see that rematch? Does it interest you if that was announced, the rematch? Would you be like,
I'd be more intrigued to see Fury Joshua.
Would you? With that rematch, does that excite you?
I'd be worried about the rematch, man. The way he lost that one. And then, remember in the rematches, now Dubois is going to be even more confident. I think that'll be a really tough fight. And the Dubois is strong. I think if he did come back, it'd probably be more, let's see him fight, against Tyson Fury.
All right, we're going to wrap the sport chat there for now. Hopefully, we'll see what happens in the next few weeks and months regarding Anthony Joshua and his future. We're going to be speaking about politics next and touching on the current Labour conference. All right, welcome back. We're going to be talking a little bit about politics now, and there's the Labour conference happening up in Liverpool at the moment. It's Labour's first party conference as they've been in power, and after initial few weeks of being quite busy and getting quite a few things done, including they scrapped the Rwanda plan, they reached a deal with the junior doctors, reached a deal with RMT as well. It seems to kind of dipped a little bit in terms of momentum in the last couple of weeks. Yesterday, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, the first female Chancellor, delivered her speech to the conference and to the nation. And today it's the speech of the Prime Minister Keir Starmer. So we'll hear hopefully some actual policies coming up from him today. We'll see what comes from him today. But apart from Breakfast Club's announced yesterday and her insistence that, this isn't austerity 2.0, I didn't really get much from what she was saying. The main takeaway I got from what she was saying yesterday was the tone. The tone was much more upbeat. I mean, I describe the tone of the government so far as, going to a 9-night and then announcing that your other auntie Mavis just died. It's like, come on, give me a break. For those that don't know what 9-night is, go and Google it. But the tone has changed to one of a bit more optimism, a bit more positivity, because I think people kind of needed that. I don't personally appreciate that, but that's just me. I'd rather just give me the realness and let's get to work with a plan rather than telling me things can be amazing, things are going to be great. So we'll see what comes from that today. But the government has also been accused of coming, of all this scandal that people are talking about the last week or so with the freebies, right? So Keir Starmer at the centre of this, free tickets to the Arsenal, getting his wife dresses. And I just wonder, I'll start with you, Hugh, a couple of questions. First of all, what do you make of the government's starts in their first 3 months in power? But also, do you think the media's focus in this last week on these so-called freebies, which by the way have all been declared, is the media getting it wrong and focusing on the wrong things? Or if the government allowed a vacuum of policies for the country, have they allowed the media to focus on things that, for me, are a lot more frivolous and less important? First of all, their first 3 months in power, what have you made of their start?
They haven't been bad. It hasn't been amazing either, but it comes back to the point, what are they meant to say? I think that in a way, one of the good things is that we're just arguing about policies. Like, for the first time in a number of years, it's like, is this the right policy to get to the end that we all want to get to? Like, we can actually go, no, we don't think the policy that Rachel Reeves is, but we're back to like 15 years ago where it was genuinely like people were bored by politics. Like people weren't really interested in it because it boils down to policies. I think that's actually a good thing. I don't think the policies that they've come with so far are amazing. I certainly think it does lean towards austerity 2.0. We spoke about it before. Doesn't need to. A lot of economists coming forward to saying it doesn't have to be as bad as this. And I know that from the early leaks today in the news, Keir Starmer this afternoon apparently will be talking about light at the end of the tunnel, about a government of national regeneration, which I think we all need. I think most of us that live in the UK, from potholes to trains to planes, whatever, the infrastructure of this country, hospitals, schools, hasn't been where it needs to be. So if that's the focus, that's good. For me, the only thing that's really missing is a strong economic policy. We really need that. I don't see, they talk about growth as if it's something that we can just turn on and off. Like, where's that coming from? We don't really know how this country's economy is getting stronger. On top of it, we've got economists saying that the effects of Brexit now are even worse than what they were when it started, if you like. As in, year on year now, it's compounding, it's exacerbating, and the problems of Brexit are getting worse. So where's Labour's plan to, I hate to say it, sorry if you disagree, but have a closer relationship with Europe, which means that some of these tariffs for businesses, some of these extra taxes and paperwork that businesses need to do are getting shrunk, because that will help them save money. That I don't see any of that, although we've seen Keir go off and speak to some European leaders and schmooze a little bit. So for me, it's an okay start. Let's say 6.5 out of 10 so far for the Labour government. Your other point was about Keir's gifts.
Well, just the the media's focus in this last 5 days on these 3 years, right? And are the media right to be focusing on that? I don't think they are. Or are they doing that because there's a lack of actual things for the media to focus on?
I don't mind them focusing on it, because I think it's, they've been declared, they're out there, it's interesting for people to know about it. It's an open democracy, so why not discuss it? But I certainly think that some people immediately being like, they're bribes, was very, very weird. Strangely, the focus within that, it was like the Premier League. And I'm like, of all the people that you think are going to be bribing politicians, like, I get it, the Premier League can save some money here, there and everywhere. But there are much bigger companies and who are definitely going to be
benefiting from,
but donating and doing things with government parties that we need to have a closer eye on than the Premier League. Especially the Arsenal thing, where it was like, guys, I found it weird. Like,
so did I.
Sports journalists basically saying, "Oh, it's only Arsenal," was one of the weirdest things ever. It's like, so you're telling me that all 60,000 people that go to Arsenal love Keir Starmer, or no one would ever? This is nothing against Arsenal fans. It's any football stadium and any 60,000 people that you can take out, there might be a dangerous person in there. Do you want the Prime Minister possibly sitting in the midst of that? I don't think we do. So that was a weird thing. And the thing is, the strangest thing of it all was Arsenal did it because it helps their security team. So they were like, look,
it's easier for us.
It's easier for us if we just bring you in. Because you're the Prime Minister, we'll give you and your family a meal. You sit up here. We can keep a closer eye on you, because they already have enhanced security around the director's box. They don't have enhanced security in the stand. So they would have to put enhanced security down where he is. It's easier for them to just be like, well, we've already got people up here. You come through the back door. You don't have to go through the, through the fans. It's we can keep an eye on you. Like, it is just what it is. Like any other invited famous guest at the Arsenal or any other football club. So, but I get it that the amounts are large. Those tickets would obviously be very expensive. So I totally understand why the amounts are there. I'm one for, to be perfectly honest, generally speaking, I think lobbying is bad. I don't think you should be able to give politicians gifts. Strangely, I know people disagree with this. I think politicians should be paid much more.
So do I.
But should not be allowed to have second jobs with construction companies and developers, and because ultimately that is them just being paid to lobby on behalf of those companies. So you shouldn't be allowed to have those second jobs. To stop that from happening, they should be paid more, in my opinion. Plus, I don't think it's a very enviable job, and I think that you will have better candidates than what we've had if you'd get paid more money. I do think you get a higher caliber of MP if there's more money available. But generally speaking, the media went a little bit too much when you're especially thinking of what was happening with the Conservative Party. Frank Hester, if you don't remember, said that Diane Abbott makes him want to hate all black women and that she should be shot.
He's their biggest donor.
They took another £5 million from him just before the election. That was nowhere near as big a story as Keir Starmer's football tickets. What's going on?
Robbie, you interviewed Keir Starmer just before he came into government. First of all, what are your honest reflections on him? And secondly, what have you made of the government's start in power? Are you impressed? And
my honest reflections on him when I met him was he was such a nice person, such a nice guy. Came across really genuine. A lot of stuff off camera, speaking to him and that, he was really nice. Because I remember when they asked me about doing the interview, I said, I'll do the interview, but no politics. All I want to talk about is football.
Okay.
And he said, yeah, cool. That's what he wants to talk about. And he's a passionate Arsenal fan. And I can tell you...
That's interesting you say that, because normally it's the other way around. Normally it would be them that says, look, we'll give you Keir Starmer, but no politics.
No.
It was
me.
that.
No, I said I don't want to speak about politics. Okay. All I want to speak about is Arsenal. They offered the interview and I said, I'll do it, but only no politics,
yes,
right?
Okay.
And because I on the platform,
your audience, yeah,
and I don't really want to get involved in that, right? But what I would say on that gifts thing, right? Now I can give you some information, right? Exclusive,
go on.
But for what he told me, when I interviewed him, I actually asked him at the time. I said, because he was talking about how he's been supporting Arsenal for years. He sits in regular seats. With his family, and he sits around the people that he sits around. He spoke about how he has a great relationship with them because he's been going with them for years, and I resonate with that completely because it's the same with me. The people that I sit with, I've been going there for years. You know them all.
Yeah.
And I said to him, right? I said, well, when you come, I go, if you're successful and you become Prime Minister, you ain't going to be able to sit in those same seats. And he said to me, he goes, they've already said to me. My security and that have already said to me that if I was to become Prime Minister, I wouldn't be able to sit in those seats. It's too dangerous because now you're no longer the opposition or just a regular person. You're now a big target. You're the Prime Minister. He said I wouldn't be able to sit in those seats. They'd have to probably put me in a director's or a box or something like that. And he goes, to be honest, he goes, as great as that sounds and all that, he goes, I'd rather stay here. He goes, I'd miss this. So he told me that at the time. And you know what I mean? So when I saw this stuff blowing up, I'm like, oh, come on, this is ridiculous. They're obviously putting him in there, like what he told me from the beginning, to try and he's a security risk, not just to himself, but to everybody else there if he's in... Mm-hmm. So it's like what you said there. They have to put you into somewhere where it's enhanced security. Somewhere where when the game finishes, you can be gone, before anybody can get you. And, so I think that talk about free tickets to Arsenal was absolutely ridiculous.
I think as you laid it out there, him, where he sits is obviously he can't sit there. That was just dumb for me. I think the bigger issue is, to play devil's advocate, was should he be getting free tickets from Arsenal? Should he not be? No, but he
still wants to go and watch Arsenal. By the way, and I don't have a problem with him getting free tickets to Arsenal. He's the Prime Minister and he's declared it, right? And I think it's as long as you declare it, I don't see what the problem is. Even the clothes thing. If you're an MP or if you declare that, you know what, they've given me these clothes, should I have a problem with that? You need suits. So I don't have a problem with that at all.
To push that, let me bring you in here, to push that point a bit further. At a time when most of the country are broke, some people are on the breadline struggling, the optics at the bare minimum, you earn, was it 160 grand a year, you can buy your missus a dress. You can afford a ticket.
No, but then, hold on, what I'd just cutting back to that, I'd say then it's down to the MP or the Prime Minister, whoever it is, to understand the optics, right? Because remember, we're talking about stuff that he got before he became Prime Minister, wasn't it? Right? So it's up to him now to understand the optics of everything, to say, right, you know what? I did take those when before, but now I'm the Prime Minister, now that I'm talking about how things are going to be really tough coming up.
Doesn't look good. Yeah.
Right? Maybe, so if you do take that, and the optics are bad, then you deal with the consequences. But in no way do I feel that if you declare the fact that, you got a free flight.
He's done nothing wrong.
Whatever, or you got, I don't have a problem with it. But you, the person, you should understand that there could be criticism coming if...
One hand, you're taking the pensioners winter fuel.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, you're trying to...
So that's for you now as a politician to understand. But for what my understanding, a lot of these gifts and that was before he became Prime Minister. And I'm just talking about the football one, because I can't have a greater understanding to it, because he told me that before he came into power. Office, he told me that he will not be able to, and he told me that's a big regret for him because he loves sitting around those fans. And I believe him because I spoke to that guy for a couple of hours and the Prime Minister, sorry, right? And he was, I want to get shot. I've
got AJ on my case, you've got the Keir Starmer on your case.
MI5.
I want to make it out of him, man. You know what I mean? Like, I spoke to him, right? And he was passionate about sitting with those fans and with his kids and watching a game with the real fans. And I believe him. He was very genuine about it.
But also, I think the media landscape, this is so interesting you mentioned the media to start with. Yeah, you have to understand that Boris Johnson took £800,000, more than, five times what Keir Starmer's been gifted for decorations, for wallpaper, for a sofa in his living room.
And it wasn't all declared, was it?
So, exactly. He tried to claim that he'd paid for it. He was the Prime Minister. And our media weren't being like, you need to leave office. This is corruption. So our media sit here, declared gifts within the rules, giving the implication to the country that Keir Starmer is doing something so corrupt that we need to be worried about this guy. But the prior Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, when it was his turn, what were we saying? We were just like, this looks bad.
I do think, like I said, I do think
so. But there's a different standard.
I think
but the responsibilities now with him and all the other people in his party, that if you're going to be telling people that things are going to be really rough coming up and that, then maybe you need to consider. Then you say, when that suit gets offered to you, you say to yourself, "Nah, actually, this ain't going to look right."
This is my final question. This is my final question on this one, because the government, and I get why they're doing it to a degree. A lot of every question that they're asked, the answer generally starts with, "But the previous government did X, so we've got to do Y," which is probably true. How much longer can we then do that? How can they do that for before people start thinking, okay, we get that you're trying to right a wrong from the previous government. At some point, you've got to start taking responsibility for what you're doing now. You've got to give us a vision and policies that actually... I think today we might hear that.
I think they need to do that right now because...
We might hear it today.
Because to me, there has been too much doom and gloom. You're new. You've come in new. You're the new party. Yes, we know, you've got a big mess to clean up and stuff like that. But now we want to hear about what you're going to... I'm fed up, me personally, I'm fed up of hearing about all the doom and gloom. I hate it, right? Like... things are going to be tough. Can you start telling me now about how things are going to improve? You start telling me about, what you're going to do to make things better, because I don't want to keep hearing about the previous guys, right? You're here now. You've got the votes. You're in charge now. Yes, you could have said what you said initially, but now I think that time for telling us about what's gone on in the past is over now. What are you going to do to fix these long-term problems, in particular things like the NHS? And there's some big problems in this country, like, policing on street. I don't know, I look at basic things like policing on streets. The other day I was saying to a friend of mine, I was going, when was the last time you walked down a road in London and actually saw a policeman on the beat? Because I go, and he said, well, it's true. I said, you know what? Tell me, walk around for a week and tell me how many police you see on the beat walking up and down. I'll tell you won't see one. You see a traffic warden. You see lots of cameras, always things to make money. But, where's the people on the beat? And then, we got all this knife crime going on the streets. We got people, you can't use your phone no more because man's just riding past and taking your phone. Where's the police? Where's the people? So there's a lot of things that need fixing. And I feel now the time has come to start telling us what those policies are going to be to fix that, fix the NHS, because that needs serious work.
Next week, I think, hopefully today, 2:00 he's speaking, there'll be some policies and some ideas. So next week, maybe we look back and just see what he's come out with.
The phrase that's been used in the papers today before the speech we're speaking, but is light at the end of the tunnel. And
what does that mean?
That just stood out to me as maybe he's saying the last 14 years and all the difficulties during that period of time are now coming to an end, and we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. But for a lot of people, when that budget gets announced in October, we're entering the tunnel.
Yeah, it's going to be bad, man.
We're entering the tunnel. And you're talking about light at the end of it.
Which is the reason why Robbie talks about, you talk about, I want to hear some positivity, and I get why. But I also think more important than positivity is just the truth. And I'd rather him just say, look, it's bad and it's going to be a bit more worse.
But they said all that already. Yeah? I mean, they really said how bad it is.
But if Hugh's right and he's saying now light in the tunnel, and then in October next month he then says, yeah, actually it's austerity 2.0. What happened to the light in the tunnel?
Yeah. No, but also if you just keep saying, just in general, right? I just think in life in general, if you just keep saying it's bad, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad, it will be bad. Yeah. Give me some positivity, man. Give me some reasons to be hopeful. Tell me that, you know what, it's bad. You've told me it's bad, right? But next year, this, or within the next 5 years, this. I want to see some positivity. I mean, every minute I turn on my TV, it's doom and gloom.
You will win the Premier League within the next 5 years.
Well, you know what? I don't want it in the next. I want it this year. You know what I mean? I've been waiting over 20 years, bro. You know what I mean? So I need it now.
Listen, let's move on now to you, Robbie, because I've known you a long time. Everyone knows AFTV, massive fan channel. I'm lucky enough to do a podcast on your channel, which I thoroughly enjoy. I want to talk a little bit about Robbie the businessman, right, and the business that you've built. And how difficult it's been to navigate something that was relatively new, like fan channel YouTube. This was, I don't know if you were the first, but you were definitely one of the first to get it to now where you've got not just a program, it's not just fan cams outside of games. You've got, I mean, I was at the studio yesterday, you've got like 19 studios, Robbie.
19?
I'm stretching it a little bit there.
As you stretch it out a lot.
but you've gone from just a man in the camera filming guys outside of a stadium to now a successful business. Yeah. Just talk to us a little bit about that journey and what it's like having that on your shoulders and responsible for what you're responsible for.
There's a lot of responsibility. I mean,
you've got staff and all sorts now.
Like probably about 24, I think, members of staff, permanent staff, right?
Wow.
And then because you've got AFTV, you've got DR Sports, we've got the whole GFN network, which, you know, we're doing some really big things with that as well. You know, some big stuff that, you know, we're going to be announcing soon, even with TikTok and stuff like that. So it's a lot, but it's really enjoyable. And it's been a journey. It's like you said, like when we first started out, no one else was really doing this, not in the way we did it. Mm-hmm. So what you get with that is there's no blueprint. Mm-hmm. There's no blueprint. So you make a lot of mistakes, you make a lot of errors that you have to learn from. You have to learn a lot of things the hard way. You can't look to, you know, if you're starting, I don't know, say you're starting a new TV channel, right? You can hire in people from a previous TV channel who know certain things you don't do this, you don't do that, stay away from that. We have that. There's two guys to start off with, up and down the country doing stuff, and then, you know. So we've learned a lot along the way, but, you know, the business has really matured over the years, and it's been an incredible journey, and you know, I'm really enjoying it, and you know, we're getting a lot of recognition. I was over it last week in New York at a YouTube summit where they had, like, you know, the top creators from around the world, and they invited us to that, and they were showing some of our videos and saying that, you know, this is an example of, you know, how you make great content and that. So that was great, and you know, just some of the things I've done and that, you know, even separate to the business stuff, like, you know, being invited into schools and universities like Oxford, Cambridge, Eton, to speak to students about how to build a business and that. I wasn't expecting these sort of things when I was first, you know, just interviewing fans. So it's been an incredible journey, and the journey continues. For me, I'm the sort of person that, you know, a bit like I was saying earlier, I like positivity. I'm always looking forward. I'm always looking forward at what's going to be next. What comes next for us? How do we grow? How do we get bigger? You know, and yeah, it's been fantastic. And, you know, also to see, you know, when I first sort of come into the industry, I didn't see a lot of people who look like me in this industry, or not really enough. You know, we got guys like you, got guys like you, but you two are beacons of what you do. But there weren't enough of those people. I'm starting to see a lot more now, and it's great to see. It's great to see so many more people of colour, you know, in this industry, because, you know, we love sport, we love football. Why were we not involved before? So it's great to see.
It's still a difficult thing, actually, for me personally, because I remember, you go and do these talks and say, how do we get more people? You're speaking to bosses at these big companies. How do we get? And I would always say, well, hold on a minute. We talk about sport. Look at YouTube and tell me predominantly on that platform who are the people who are making their own content, getting a camera, putting up videos talking about sport, and then look at the old linear, the big TV stations and radio stations, and look at who you've got on there. What you tell me is the big editors and the big executives, how you haven't got the people from, and it's still, I hate to say it, but still largely a separation in that regard. If you take out ex-players from TV, sports coverage, ex-athletes, it disappears off a cliff. You're talking about a handful of presenters who have never done the Olympic Games, never got in a boxing ring or went onto a field of play in football or rugby, for example. You take those people out of broadcasting, that's presenters and pundits, and we're talking about people who either studied journalism or started their own platform and transcended onto television or radio. There's a handful. In fact, now what we have, the good thing is we're starting to see more of the likes of Flex, for example, or Expressions, moving across from YouTube onto some of those things. But that is long overdue. There's been plenty of people since Robbie's been started who should have been moving across to the big radio stations, to the big TV stations years ago.
Yeah, I mean, listen, over the years, we've had a fight. We've had, people disrespect what we do, for so many years. And now I see them copying it. You know what I mean? So that, for me, is a vindication. I see that and I look at it and say, look, now you're doing the same thing that you used to have a go at us for, right? So, and what these social media platforms do is they offer an opportunity, right, to people like me, right? So I feel had YouTube, say for instance, not existed, you wouldn't see me on any platform. You wouldn't see me on talking anything about football apart to my brethren, right? But what these social media platforms, whether it be YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, they offer opportunity to you so that you can get yourself in front of a lot of people and the people decide. Is Jordan good or is Jordan rubbish? Do I like Hugh or do I not like Hugh? If I like Hugh, I'm going to watch more. I'm going to like his videos and I'm going to keep coming back, and then you grow and you become big. And that's how it should be. Whereas on the traditional platforms, there's always been glass ceilings, people making decisions on you based on whether you fit right or that. That doesn't happen on social media. That's what I tell everybody when I'm giving a talk. I say, yo, that's your first point of call. If you were trying to get into media, you can do it yourself. If you become big on that, they can't ignore you then. But you can actually become big on that without even having to. These guys that I was at that summit with last week, they don't need to go on TV. They're making way more money than those guys on TV. They're way bigger as well. I've been at the World Cup walking with like 5-6 people that, coming out of a game that, a couple are on Sky, nobody knew who they were. I got stopped by everyone. I couldn't even move.
I was with you in Russia, and I remember this guy. Sorry to cut you, Robbie, but I was there working for Channel 4, and Robbie was doing content out there for AFTV. And after one of the England games, I think Truth was there as well. And this guy had no word of a lie. There must have been a circle of 60 people around Robbie, and it was that point I was like, rah. Like, we was in Russia and people knew and respected.
It's worldwide.
It's crazy.
I was in Qatar. I'm in the souk in Qatar, walking around trying to buy a fake Rolex. Robbie's doing a shoot in front of a camera, and I'm in the back of the crowd Rob, trying to say hello to him. He just noticed me out the corner of his eye. Thankfully, it took me about 10 minutes.
I'm
like,
Rob. I was going to say I blanked him. I didn't blank him. But it offers an opportunity. That's what it does. It offers you an opportunity. Life is all about opportunities. Do those big media companies offer the opportunity to everybody? That's all we're asking for. No one's asking for any favoritism. Don't bring in anyone who's no good just because of their colour. Just give people an opportunity to shine. If you're good enough, then the audience will accept you. The audience, there's people making decisions for the audience, right, based on what they think. Well, actually, that's the beauty of the social media platforms, because the audience makes the decision.
Let me just ask you one more question from me. I don't know if you've got any more. We've got to wrap soon. Innovation. You spoke earlier on about kind of creating and trying to move ahead and be bigger. I remember again when we linked up and you said to me, I had the idea of replicating what Soccer Saturday do. And you've got the DR watch-alongs where we have 4 or 5 content creators and they're just watching the games live and they're kind of... And I was like, that's interesting, it's interesting. And I thought it would work, because I know that there's a generation of people that don't watch Soccer Saturday. They don't want to see 5 old white men talking nonsense. They want to see young people chatting football. How do you keep innovating and ensuring that you're looking at the next big thing? What is it that inspires you to ensure that, you know, DR, what's you said you've got some things coming up. Don't want to talk your business before it's time, but how do you ensure that you're constantly innovating, constantly thinking about the next challenge, the next level?
So me, I'm the sort of person that, you know, I'll get an idea in my head, right? Like I got one yesterday, and I'll just rock up at the studio and I'll say to the guys, listen, I got this idea, man, and I want to give it a try. We'll try it in a couple of days' time. And then we'll just do it. And I'm that type of person, so I like to try new things. I also look at, I like to look what other people are doing, not to just copy, but I particularly like to look at what other people are doing in other fields. So for instance, when, like, just going back to that conference last week, I'm there with people who do fashion, who do food, who do all kind of different genres, right? Beauty, but there's lots of tips that I can take off of how they're doing their content. And then introduce that into football. So I just always like to innovate, and I will give something a try. And then I surround myself with people that are similar to me. People who like have loads of ideas and also, you know, just keep an eye out for technology. There'll be new technology coming out. I'm always like, well, how can we work with that new technology? What can we do with that will enhance what we're doing? So like, obviously the big thing now is AI. I'm looking at that closely. You know, I know there's loads of people like this, when AI came out, there's this whole fear thing. Oh, AI is going to put this out of a job and that. And that. No, actually, AI can enhance what we're doing. You know, for instance, like the AI dubbing that, you know, where they can dub your voice, that can open you up to people in China and Japan, in, you know, all the Spanish-speaking countries. You know what I mean? So, you know, I look at everything like that constantly, and I have a team that look at everything like that constantly to say, what do we do next? How do we grow? Because there's a lot of competition. You guys know this in this space, man. Competition. If you stand still, you're dead. I'm telling you, it's very similar to like playing. You know, when you see teams playing football, you're always gonna be looking for the new players. You're always gonna be, you know. You always got to be innovating. You always got to be, you know, you can't say, you know, look at a team like Brighton, for instance, and the way they use data and stuff like that to trump bigger teams. I sort of look at us, we're a little bit like a Brighton or a Brentford or someone like that, where we're not the huge media company.
Maybe Aston Villa, maybe more Villa.
All right, we'll go Villa. But we're using data, we're using hard work, we're using certain skills that means that we're able to compete with those big boys, especially with the numbers.
My final question, I know we're running out of time. I just wanted you to tell us all about Africa, what it means to you guys. Obviously, huge Arsenal supporting contingent on the continent, but you went there. What was the experience like? What did you learn? Where else are you going to be possibly going to? Well,
you know, the African experience has been amazing. That was all born out of, I'll try and make it quick because I know you're running out of time, but that was all born out of, I was like, Arsenal, we go all around the world. We go China, we go America a lot, and I was always like, we never go to Africa. Why has Arsenal not gone to Africa? And I was like, right, we're going to go Africa. Let's go to Africa. I want to show those fans some love, right? Because you see them at games, you see the passion of them. I was like, I'd love to go over there and do something. So the first one we went to Nigeria, absolutely brilliant. The fans over there, the passion. We had to do it at a secret location, right? And we had about 300 fans come, and it was brilliant. And the way in which we did it as well, I didn't want to just go there and just like do a watch party. I wanted to show the country as well. So we went around and we did stuff around Lagos, and it was brilliant.
Great content. It was really
then earlier this year we went to Ghana, and that was brilliant as well. This time we did it outside with 1,000 fans watching the game on a big screen. It was unbelievable. We went to Kumasi to see the Ashanti King. We went to the Cape Coast, and we did that was one of my favourite videos. We did it where we spoke about, you know, where the slaves used to come there and then be shipped off to America. And by the way, we did that as a video, but we've got an extended version that we're going to bring out for Black History Month. And I urge everybody to watch that. And basically, you know, showing Ghana as an unbelievable country and showing the passion of those fans over there in Africa, which is unbelievable. And now we've got lined up to Sierra Leone. They want us to come. We wanted in Kenya. We wanted in South Africa. You know what I mean? So I could see like I'm getting cussed off in Jamaica as well because they're saying, "What, Robbie?" I saw a guy in Florida and he goes, "Robbie, well, go on, brother. You see, you got a Nigeria, you got a Ghana. What?" So I said, "All right, don't worry. Okay, we're coming to Jamaica soon as well." So, but honestly, it's been unbelievable, and the passion of those fans over there is unbelievable. Right, they got some great channels over there as well. There's a channel called Football Fan Tribe.
Yeah, I've been there, yeah.
Brilliant channel. I met those guys when I went to Nigeria. Fantastic guys, great channel. And people look at Africa sometimes. They look down and think like Africa is some backward place. Let me tell you something. It's a forward-thinking place. It's got a very young, up-and-coming place. There's a lot of technology there. Go and pay for things in Africa. You see the tech they're using. They're more advanced than here, right? Great continent, man. Really up and coming, right? Still needs a bit of organising, but really, really up and coming. And it's been a great experience for me going to these countries in Africa. I've absolutely loved it. And I urge anybody, black or white, go and visit there for yourself. When it comes to any country, I always say this to people, find out for yourself. When I went to Russia, man stopped me and goes to me, "Yo, Russia?
Yeah.
Robbie, you're going to Russia? Hey, right?
Yeah.
Didn't you see the videos there, man? They're all out in the forest fighting each other." I go, "Yo, have you been there?" Visit places for yourself, and you'll see the people are always also a lot better than the actual politicians. You know what I mean? 'Cause
true that.
a lot of these problems in these countries, not always the people there, the actual people, is these politicians at the top. Is mostly the problems with the people there just want to do what we're doing. They want to get on with their lives, make money, enjoy themselves. That's the people. Don't look at what's happening on that and label everybody in those countries as the same as what you're seeing the politicians doing.
I've just got to ask you, Dan's going to kill me, but I've just got to ask you, how fun, I watched your show with KG and Expressions, how much fun is it doing that show with those guys?
It's so
the latest one was hilarious, but you was in New York.
That was so much fun. It's so much fun, especially when Man United and Tottenham lose. You know, but if you lose, you know the thing is now, right? It's got to a stage that it used to be bad enough losing a game.
Yeah.
Right? But it's like you're worried about it. Like,
tomorrow, the show.
When we went 1-0 down at City, I'm thinking, oh my God. I can just imagine Expressions now, KG. I'm finished, bro. The weekend roundup show. I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
So it's like, when you win a game or you think them big games, man, you're bouncing in. But if you lose, though, they've done a music video about
I was going to say, the production that you guys do, on that, everyone check it out, because there's these guys
DR
take it
Sports,
seriously.
man, like, we've sort of invented this thing where we call it sportainment. That's what we label it on, and that's what we do with that channel. We bring so many fans of different teams together, and we just have banter, but with fun.
Yeah.
No malice, nothing like that.
Yeah.
Fun.
I love it.
And that's how we're trying to roll it.
To conclude, I just want to say thank you very much, first of all, to coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
But also thank you for the work that you're doing. I think it's important to give people their flowers while they're around. You are an innovator. You're really one of the most hardworking, nicest guys. One thing I love about Robbie is he's not changed. since I first met Robbie. Some people, they kind of get a bit, they kind of change. Robbie's not changed. And you've given opportunity to so many people. So many people got careers now.
Inspiring
because
so
of
many
what
young
you've
people
done.
too.
Thank you.
So I want to say thank you for coming, but also thank you for the work that you do. You're a beacon in our community as well, and a businessman, which I think is, I keep mentioning that word, but I see you not just as an Arsenal fan. I see you as a successful businessman, and that is iconic for me and inspirational as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Good job
coming
you didn't
on.
have Troy, man, because I'd have been arguing with him. You know what I mean? It was we arguing the Arsenal Tottenham thing. You know what I mean?
More than likely.
Thanks for having me, man.
No,
I really
thanks
appreciate
for
it.
coming on. I didn't shout out our socials at the start of the show, so I'll do it right now. Please, if you're not subscribed to us here on YouTube, please do so. All the socials, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, we're there as well. Until next week, peace.